Hi, Monica. Hello, Shrestha. Let us wait for a couple of minutes before we start. Hello, Afreen. Afreen Salim. Sir. Hello. Hi, Amrita. Hello, Ananya. Hello. Let's just wait for a couple of minutes, okay? And we will start dive into this this particular live that I had been looking forward to because there's a lot of myths I need to burst today. Am I audible? Can somebody confirm if I'm audible or not? Because I'm not using an earphone. If I'm not clearly audible, then I'll have to use one. Can someone please confirm if I'm audible? Okay, I'm audible? Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you, Amrita. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Shrestha, for confirming. I think we can just start. It's right 8 p.m. and we have a lot to discuss today. And of course, people might be thinking since the time I have released the poster, people are thinking and they are conspiring stories of whatever they want to. But basically, the idea is you can't hear. Okay, Irina is saying, could you please a little bit more? Let I can't hear anything. No one can hear me, or like you just said that I'm audible. Can anyone confirm if I'm audible or not? You just said I'm audible and I just started. If not, then I have to use an earphone. Better? Am I audible? No? Irina, I was. Yeah. I think Ananyadi, press your volume button. You can hear. Yeah. Everybody can hear, right? I'll just continue. Right? So, yes, you are audible. Okay. All right. Then. So, now I can hear you. All right. Okay. Fine. So basically, this entire concept of sexuality is considered as a taboo in our society. People don't talk about it, although there is enough, evidences of sex education being conducted in different parts, but that too in a very hush hush manner, because a lot of because of this tabooing these concepts, you know there are a lot of myths that have come forward because people are gathering the information about sexuality from other sources which does not give you the right kind of information. For example, movies, for example, friends or internet or any information that they come across, they tend to believe it. So in today's life, we are just going to break a few myths that are associated with sexuality. And before we break those myths, it is very important to understand from where this study was taken. So this study was taken by a psychologist named Jack Annan. He works on the sexual problems of couples, and most importantly, it is the first thing he said is it is important to understand that no matter how spiritual or how whatever you are, sexuality is an important aspect of a couple relationship, and it is important that you need to accept it. You cannot run away from it. So keeping that in mind, he found that many couple who are going through divorce, there are three major reasons. Of course, incompatibility is one major reason behind divorce. The second thing was third party interference, and the third and another vital one was incompatible or unsatisfactory sexual relationships. So these three are the primary reason for which people have been seen to take divorce from their partners. So he found that there are certain myths that are there because of which leads you to build this mythical concept around sexuality. All right. So please feel free to ask questions while I start bursting one myth at a time. So myth number 1: men are always ready for sex. So this is the first myth that he wanted to burst, and probably many sexologists wanted to burst this as well. So it is not just because they are men they are always ready for sex, and this is like it is considered that, like, a lot of people think that, just because you belong to that gender, you might be ready for sex anytime. So you just have to, there is a button you have to press and the person will be ready. It doesn't work like that. So sexuality is not about gender. So similarly, a female or a woman can be more sexual than a man. It is not that a man only have to be sexual and they only have to ask for it. A woman can also ask for it. So sexuality has nothing to do with the gender. The gender role stereotypes was put by the society, not by the sexual needs with which somebody is born. Because everyone who is born, they are born with this primitive desire of hunger, sex and anger in the same level. Everybody is born with that. So unnecessarily putting it into particular genders is actually a myth. The second one, if you do not show affection to a man, then he would expect sex. This is I don't know why people think like this, that if you show affection, that means he would consider that it is more than sexual relationship or urge. It is more of love and everything. But if you don't show affection, if you just it's okay type, but you show interest, that means the person is driving or moving towards sex. But that is not how it is. In fact, both women and men are looked down at a very poor light when it comes to sexuality, right? So the third myth which is associated with this, I think this is the one which is one of the major reasons behind all divorce cases when it comes to sexuality, is performance is what counts. I don't know how many of you have heard this, that all that matters is performance. So, and that is actually one of the major reason behind anxiety in men when it comes to sexuality. Because I have a few patients of mine, and they are like 25-26 years of age, and they are suffering from panic attacks or panic disorders because they think they are not able to perform. So performance is all that counts. If people think like this, that means the entire journey from starting from foreplay to the entire process is somewhere lost. So all you are interested is in the climax, and that's where, if you're not able to deliver a proper climax, then the entire movie is a flop. So that is another myth associated with sex, because sex is not just one act. It is it is the entire emotion. When you are, unless it's a one night stand, when you are doing it consciously, but sexual act is basically when you're opening yourself to another person in ways and means that your bodies, your souls will get entwined, and it's an expression of love. So it cannot be because of this last 2 minutes, 3 minutes act. It has to be for the entire process. So that is another myth number 3. Please feel free to ask questions if you have any other myths or any other thoughts that you might have regarding such concepts that you have heard about sexuality. The fourth one, there is something wrong with the man who has lower sexual drive than his female partner or than his partner. How many of you have heard, or how many of you have seen people talking about this? So let's say if the man has lower sexual drive, there is something wrong with him. Men are expected to always be sexual. Anyone who have heard things like this, that somebody, if men have lower sexual drive, there is some problem with them. So men are always expected to have very high sexual drive, and female are expected to have very low sexual drive. That is the gender role stereotypes that you people have put in our society. But sexual drive has nothing to do with gender. It has to do with a lot of hormones. It has to do with a lot of mental health aspects. It has nothing to do, or in general normal physical health. It has nothing to do with gender though. right? So another one, I think this one has built up from our college days by watching, because a lot of people, teenagers, are exposed to they are exposed to those films, those blue films, that the porns that they see, and they have this unrealistic expectations associated with sexual acts. So the next myth is you must orgasm together. I don't know. I don't know how many of you have heard, or how many of you thought that it is important to have orgasms together, but in reality it does not happen. Let's face this, it does not happen. First of all, most of the time this concept of orgasm has been glorified. So orgasm, it is, first of all, it is not necessarily that all sexual activities will end with orgasm. It is not necessary. It is also not necessary that if you don't have an orgasm, that means that the entire sexual activity was a flop. Third, and the most important thing, it is absolutely not necessary to have orgasms together, because an orgasm for a male and an orgasm for a female happens at different levels. Men of course have orgasm, but females, they happen at different levels. We'll talk about that aspect. Okay, any question, anyone so far? Am I making sense, or am I not making sense? I don't know. Crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. Okay, so if you have any such doubts, please feel free to ask. If I have the answer, I'll answer it. If I don't have, I'll get back to you. Okay, next myth: women expect men to know everything about sex. Okay, it's men. It's not a book. What do you call? Is it more like this, that offering for sex by indirect hints rather than asking directly is more acceptable and desirable? Acceptable, yes. Desirable, it's a myth. Yeah, because if you are asking directly for something, forget sex. Even if you are asking directly for your own thing which you have lent to someone, that is also in our society is considered as rude. For example, Irina, you might have given one of your books to one of your friend to read. Now your friend have forgotten to return it. You will think 5 times to, in our society there are a lot of people, they've put it like they will think 5 to 10 times, how should I approach, kaise पूछे वापस के लिए, because it's your thing, but still you are so hesitant asking for it. So if it's just a book and still you're hesitant, think about sex, which is always under the wraps. And if you think you're going to have directly ask someone, or directly ask your partner about it, so you can understand, it will just behave just how my phone behaved, like that. It will fall. It will not. It is not considered decent, quote unquote, right? It is not considered decent. But these are all myths. Again, I'm saying these are all myths. So if you are asking directly, if you are feeling something, you're asking for it, then it's actually you are, what should I say? You are respecting your emotions and needs. And if the two people are ready, that is how it should be. That is how it is important. It does not matter that whether it is decent or indecent. If two people think it's correct, it's correct. That's it. Communication, one should be able to communicate clearly what they like and how they like it. Yes, absolutely. So what I was saying something, I forgot. Yeah, women expect men to know everything about sex. So this is specifically typical of women who thinks that they will wait for men to initiate. Again, answering, most of us are shy away and never talk about it, which is the problem. It needs to be mutual all the way through. Yes, it needs to be mutual, as absolutely. And the problem is, it is expected in our society, answering Irina's question, that it is expected that the sex should always be initiated from the male counterpart and not from female, because females are expected to be those baby sort of characters who are absolutely pure, pious, who will not do anything. They're absolutely okay, but these are all myths. But it is better to be open about your feeling. You want it or not, should be communicated clearly. Exactly, you want it or not, it should be communicated clearly. That's what I'm saying. But people do not speak because in our society it is considered indecent to talk about this openly, even in closed rooms. So even in the closed walls of closed four walls. If you're with your partner, still it is considered you cannot have such open discussion with your partner. I don't know how much closed you need more than that. So this was another myth. The next one is, where was I? All gay men are promiscuous. Promiscuous means they are unselective about their approach of how to approach the sex. This is for the same-sex relationships I'm talking about, not only gay men, but I'm talking about same-sex relationship. They are considered, people look at them like, just because they are same-sex, they don't know how to approach sex, they don't know, they cannot enjoy, they cannot have it all, they have this kind of concept. Point number 8. If it's a same-sex gender couple and if it is about their sexuality, why are you interfering into that? Why are you bothered about how they are going to behave in their bedroom? You don't need to involve yourself into such kind of a communication. It is between two people. It's a private affair. Leave it like that. And second thing is, just to burst the myth, actually you have it all in any kind of relationship. The way how the two people want to explore themselves, it is absolutely their call. Just because you do not belong to the same-sex relationship does not mean that they cannot actually enjoy the things that you can. So we are always on one side of the story. We do not know what is happening on the other side of the story. So unless and until you have a clear idea, it is better to keep quiet about such things, right? Next one. Okay. This one is something, this is, I think I have heard this particular thing when I was in my college, when people used to, they were introduced to porns at that point of time, and they got such weird mythical concepts about sexual activity. That is, if the size of the genital determines or the kind of stimulation a person would have, and this goes for both the gender. The size of the genital determines the kind of stimulation a person. So this basically comes from the concept, the bigger the better. But the bigger the better concept is actually simply false. What is important is your compatibility and the communication about how you feel when you are into this act, and how do you feel about each other, and the overall compatibility with each other. Just the statistics at the end of the day, it is important for those airbrush posters and all this thing, but at the end, when you are with your partner, because once the entire act is over, it is that compatibility and the feeling that is going to linger, and that is actually going to resonate, and that is actually going to bond two people more than anything else. So the bigger the better is absolutely a myth. Okay. Another one, I think this one comes from, we have seen this in many Bollywood movies. This is particularly about females, right? If a female genital is tight or loose, it means the person have had sex before or they have had sex or they didn't have sex. So basically, we are not talking about the hymen part. I'm talking about that if, like, during the act, if the person feels that the female genital is not that strong, is not that tight, that means the person have had such kind of experience before. And if it is, of course, if it is, firm, it means that it is for the first time for them. Now, you need to understand the genitals is a muscle, right? It is not a fairy tale concept. It's a muscle which can expand and contract. Just like the railway lines, when you have heat, the line expands and then contracts. Similarly, the muscles, it does not need, like, depending on various kind of activities, it can muscle and contract, it can expand and contract. It does not matter whether you have had this experience before or not. So if the person is very comfortable, let's say I am a woman, I am very comfortable in the act, if I'm very comfortable, then automatically my body will pass on the fluids and the hormones which will automatically expand the genital. But if I am not comfortable, if I am nervous, if I am doing it against my wish, then my body is going to resist the entire action. And if my body is resisting the action, that means that my genital would contract because I am not I am not ready to let you in. So it is based on my mental state, whether I am enjoying the process, whether I'm comfortable or I'm not comfortable. It has nothing to do with the so-called that if I have had sex before, if I didn't have. So that's a big myth, right? Any questions, anyone? Please feel free to ask. I have a few more, actually quite a few more, right? So the next one is men must take charge of sex. I mean, why? Why do you need to do that? Why do men have to do that? If you expect women to be shy, why can't you expect men to be shy? These are gender role stereotypes. These are things like maybe the man is not, they are not communicative enough. They are not feeling it ready to speak about what they want. So if a female is ready, and if you think that you can approach and make the situation more comfortable between two, why can't you do that? Just because the society doesn't expect you, or society expects you to behave in certain thing, I think that's a big no from a mental health perspective, right? Next one, having sex always ends in orgasm. A big no. And the big no, that is primarily from the female perspective. Having sex does not always end in orgasm. Orgasm is a different process. When you cannot reach, a female does not reach orgasm at every activity. It depends. So those movies where people are panting together and they have orgasm together, so such are unrealistic expectations that you might have built from your partner and from yourself. Just enjoying the process, being more comfortable, because it is just one act, and you do not need to put it in the grade. Okay, level 1 pass, level 2 pass, level 3 pass. Oh, in the final orgasm, no, the entire exam you have failed. It doesn't work like that, right? It's a myth. It's a big myth. Next one. This is about men now. Good sex always means that a man will have erection. The answer is no. Erection for men is more of orgasm. So if they have orgasm, that's why they erect. But good sex does not always mean a man will have erection. See, understand, this thing of specific thing happening in the sex is not the be all and end all of the activity. The entire process, the entire starting from the foreplay to the entire concept, this thing is the act of sex, or act of making love. So if the act of making love, let's not put such labels like orgasm, erection, this, that. If it is happening, it is happening. If it is not happening, still the act was as real as it was, right? Next one, there are some people who feel extremely depressed thinking that I am the only one who is not getting any action. Everybody around me is having sex. So no, that is not the thing. Being single does not mean that somebody is sex deprived or somebody is asking for sex. Some people can just be okay with, and people want it on a much frequent basis. So understand, everybody's sexual drive is different. So you cannot judge somebody on the basis of their sexual drive. But yes, as long as it is protected, as long as it is considering your health, hygiene and everything, I think sexual drive is not something which should be a judgmental factor for anybody, right? Next one, most gay or lesbian partners adapt an active in their sexual relationship. As I said earlier, first of all, same-sex relationship people, active or passive. So either you are absolutely active or you are absolutely passive. No, same-sex people also behave exactly similar way, just where normal couple or straight couple. If they're normal, I will say straight because both are normal, right? So this is again a big myth. The next one, I think this is not really, the next one is not really a myth, but it becomes a myth when you do not know how to overcome it. The next thing is sex is painful. So sexual activity means it's going to pain a lot. This is particularly for females I'm talking about. Ideally sex should feel good. You should feel comfortable, you should feel good, because it endorphins, a lot of serotonin is released during this activity, and it burns a lot of calories, so you are supposed to feel good. Why it is painful? As I said, first time, whether you are having it the first time or the million, zillion times, it doesn't matter. It should feel good. But for you to feel good about this, it is important to have the comfort level. It is important to be comfortable and to feel good about the entire action, or how the other person is treating you, or how the other person is making you feel. Because the more comfortable you are in the process, the more calm you are in the process, your body is going to generate the fluids, which makes the process which makes the process more easy. Because if the fluid is not generated, then the tract is dry, then of course it's going to be painful for everyone. So it is not only painful for the woman, it is also painful for the guy, because let's say it is first time for both of them and the woman is not comfortable and the man is not also experienced. So they will also give their force, but the woman is not comfortable, and this entire thing becomes so painful. So for few people it becomes very traumatic experience, and the next time they stop from doing such thing. They actually resist from getting into any sexual activities. So it is very important that how do you treat your partner, how much comfortable your partner is. That is something which has to be considered before you dive into each other, right? Okay. Another myth is condom takes away the feeling and pleasure of sex. The answer is a no. A lot of people get into unprotected sex with different people, with different, in different situations. Now, I understand a lot of people do not like any barrier between two souls. I can understand all of that. But condoms are actually a mean for protecting people from a lot of sexually transmitted diseases. So, and of course, from unwanted pregnancies. And it is far better than having those emergency contraceptive pills. So, I would suggest that people should use it, because it is for your own health. But whether you like it or don't like it, and it is not only about, what should I say, it is not only about the pleasure, it is also about the after effects of the pleasure, because a lot of HIVs, AIDS happens transmitted through fluids like semen, urine, blood, all these things. Next myth, pornography. This one I have read it online in a website. Pornography accurately portrays sex in bold, in red, in caps, underlined. No, it does not. It has never, and it is setting up unrealistic expectations between partners. Okay, people with disabilities and chronic illnesses cannot have sex. Another big no. That has nothing to do with this activity. These are two different activities. Two different sections of brain are controlling this activity. So it has nothing to do with this. Just because a person has disability or person has chronic illness does not mean the person cannot indulge in sexual activities. Okay. This one is particularly with reference to what I was already talking about. Sexually transmitted infections, they are only for those people who sleep around with others. But it is not only about sleeping around. You can also have sexually transmitted infection if you get into, or if you involve yourself into unprotected oral, vaginal, anal sex, any form. So people think that only if you have it anal sex or the missionary position or any position for that matter, you will have STIs, but that is not how it is. STIs can happen in any form, even in oral sex, because STI is not about the, from where it is happening. It is about the fluid, it is about the carrier which is getting into your body. Either it is getting through your mouth, either it is getting through any other part of the body. As long as the fluid gets into your body, you have the chance of catching STI. Okay. Another one is, I think this one many of you are aware of, that if just before the man is about to erect and he just withdraws, then the female cannot get pregnant. No, the female can still get pregnant, because just before the man is about to ejaculate, at that time if they are withdrawing, there is this pre-ejaculatory fluid that gets into the female's body, and that also contains sperm. So you can still get pregnant in that process. So some people think that they will enjoy unprotected sex and just before the ejaculation they will withdraw, but it does not happen like that. The pre-ejaculatory fluid is not in your control. It still contains the semen, the sperm. Okay. Next one, a lot of people because that when it becomes difficult, the sexual process is difficult, they use things like baby oil, use things like Vaseline to make the process comfortable, but that actually allows sexually transmitted infection to pass away. You know why? Because the condoms that people use, they are latex condoms. So when you are using Vaseline or baby oil and you are using a latex condoms, there are chances that it will break down that latex, the condoms latex. It will break down, the oil, the Vaseline will break down, and the sperm or the this thing will get into your body. So it is important that if you have to use a lubricant, the one that you should use is a water soluble lubricant. Okay, it is okay to use lubricants because a lot of people, a lot of females have problems, have physical or health issues because of which their fluid is not naturally naturally produced. So for that you can use lubricant, but use water soluble, not Vaseline or such baby oil things, because that can still break the condom and you can still get pregnant. And I think this one is the biggest of all, and this is my last myth. Okay, so this one is, most women can have orgasm through vaginal sex only. This is a big myth. 30% only can have orgasm through vaginal sex. Rest of the women, they need more manual or oral stimulation to reach that height of orgasm. Okay, so only what you see in pornography, that orgasm, that those things, that is only 30%. 70% of women would need more stimulation, more oral or any other form of stimulation, so that you can reach that stage of ecstasy, reach that stage where you will have orgasm. Okay, I think that's pretty much from my end for this session, because I think I have bursted around 15-20 myths today. And if you have any question when I post this video, you can comment on that. I hope this was helpful. And my main idea for doing it, because a lot of mental health issues is also associated with the myths people hold about sex. Because when you are in a relationship, you get into such activity, and when you think you are not able to perform with respect to the myth that you have in your mind, that actually spoils the entire process. So that was my whole idea, because of which I conducted this live. Hopefully it was helpful. So that is pretty much about it, and I think that's it. If you have any question, we'll just wait for 2 minutes to take. If you have any question, just wait for 2 more minutes to take any questions. Yes, Ananya, I have a question, and I hope I have an answer. I'm waiting for Ananya's question. If anybody else have any question, please feel free to ask. Thank you, Monica. In meantime, if any one of you have any question, please feel free to ask me. Pornography creates a misconception about female ejaculation. Yes, absolutely. Welcome, Irina. Yes, it's a question, or is it a statement? Or are you still asking a question, like based on this statement? Okay, I'll just wait. Don't worry. Don't rush. Relax. Deep breathe. My messages are reaching late. Okay. So, okay. So do you have any question? And then I don't know whether this message that you have a question, did it reach before or now? I don't know. If you have any questions, if anyone have any question, I'll wait for 1 more minute, and post that I'll finish the live. And you can of course post your questions once the live is posted. I will get back an answer. That is not a problem. Both. Shed light on this. Light on what? Pornography creates a misconception about female ejaculation. Yes, I actually shed light on that. That no, pornography shows that every woman will have orgasm. First of all, that's a myth. Second thing is pornography shows that female will have orgasm every time during the sex. That's a myth, because women take a long time. As Nivedita is saying, it takes a long time for women to reach orgasm. And the most important thing is pornography shows that, or there is a myth that women will reach orgasm through vaginal sex or missionary positions or that kind of sex only. But for a woman to reach orgasm, you need a lot more stimulation, at least for 70% to 75% of women. So that stimulation can be in the form of oral stimulation or any other more manual stimulation it needs. So that will help. So when you do that, that will help you to reach orgasm. And every orgasm does not mean female ejaculation. Okay, so orgasm and ejaculation are two different things for females. So when you reach orgasm, you might just reach the height of ecstasy. That does not mean every orgasm will end with an ejaculation. No. And ejaculation for women is the percentage is very low. So that is what pornography shows. They are actually highlighting or unrealistic concepts of sex, and that is what is creating more such more, that is actually creating more trouble in relationship. As she's saying, most women fake it. They make all those noise and panting and everything, but they are faking it because it takes a lot of time for women to reach it. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. I'll finish the live. Thank you everyone for your time today, and hopefully we'll connect soon in another live. Okay, take care.